Hi, today I'd like to talk to you about the difference between a cake board and a cake drum. When I first started making cakes, every cake that I made, I placed on a cake board. I was also using these in between tiers, but when I would give it to friends or family, and then when I started making for clients, I was still using the cake board. I knew that there were cake drums out there, but I didn't want to spend the extra money for them. Well, one day when I was perusing a book or magazine, I was looking at all these beautiful cakes, and something finally struck me. It was a beautiful presentation from top to bottom, and I noticed that there wasn't a single cake that I admired that was placed on a cake board as the final presentation. So I went back and I started looking at all my images of cakes that I thought that were pretty good, and I noticed that in a lot of the cakes, I could see the raw edge of the cardboard, and my heart sunk. I felt like I'd missed an important detail. So today I'd like to talk to you about how to elevate the perceived value of your cakes using cake drums. So what I've done is I've put together a little cake dummy here, and I'm showing you what it looks like if it were presented on a cake board. There's really nothing special about it, and I always thought people were just looking at the cake, it wasn't a big deal. But I'd like to show you the difference. So what I started doing, I said, I'm not going to use these any longer to present my cake. I will use them where they're appropriate, obviously in between the tiers, but I'll start putting all of my cakes on a cake drum. So again, it's a little more stable too for having a two-tier cake, and it's a little nicer presentation. So I did this for a while, and then I started looking at improving my website. And when I looked at my website, I noticed that I had all these cake drums under my cakes, but it still didn't look finished. You could see the little folds of the paper going underneath the board. So I decided I needed to elevate and finish off my presentation again. So the next thing that I did was, instead of just a plain cake drum, I invested in ribbons. And I started putting ribbons on the edges of the cake drums. And now, when we look at this little cake with ribbon around the drum, it's a tied-in message from the top to the bottom. The pink reflects the flowers, the gold can pick up some of the colors in the flowers or other decorations that you have on your cake. Now, one of the things with putting ribbon on the cake that's a little frustrating is that I like using grosgrain ribbon. The cake drums are 1/2 inch thick, and all the grosgrain ribbon that I can find are 3/8. So what happens is they're not wide enough to cover the full edge. So you have a choice. You can put this, and I hot glue mine. These are actually just pinned on to show you. But when you put this on, you have to make a choice. Do you want to put the ribbon at the very bottom and show a little gold edge at the top? Or do you want to put it right down the center? Now you notice something else that I do with my cake drums. Every single cake drum, I hot glue a size smaller cake board underneath, and there's a reason for this. When I go to pick up my cake, I have a little room to put my fingers under the cake board and pick it up. Makes it very handy. So you have this choice. Now another option is to double up on the size, or the ribbons, double up on your ribbons to use 2. On this cake drum, what I've done, I've covered the surface with fondant, which you can always do, or you can just do it plain. And here I've used 2 colors of ribbon. One I've put at the very top, and the second one I've scooched down to the bottom, so that now you can't see the color of the cake board. And again, under there, I've put my smaller cake board so that I have room to get my fingers under to pick it up off of a table or off of a cake plate. Now, I said I like grosgrain. Occasionally, you can find satin ribbon that is 5/8 of an inch. Again, I can't find the 1/2 inch. So what happens with having that little cake board underneath, it raises your cake drum up off the surface, and then your ribbon if I can pick this up for you, you'll see it covers up that gap. And then you just have it level with the top of your cake drum. Another little tip that I have for you is I have a cheat sheet that tells me anytime I want to cut ribbon for a cake drum, I know a 6-inch round, I cut a 20-inch piece. If it's a 6-inch square, 26 inches. Just makes my life a little easier to go take a tape measure, cut the ribbon I need, and then hot glue gun it around. I hope that this has helped explain a little bit of a tip on how you can improve the perceived value of your cake and make a more cohesive presentation when you bring it to your client, or take a picture and put it on your website or share with your friends and family.